Lies. They're still lying to us. They haven't, and they're not even getting better at it. They're just, getting more stubborn about it.
Much of the science is being controlled by the government or BP.
Of course they control the science. They've controlled the science from before the drilling. How else do you think that we did something that stupid? Okay? Is that they controlled the science before. It's not a new game. But not all of it. Not everyone can be bought. In fact, I was working, doing a report right now with the former head of the Hurricane Center, Dr. Ivor von Heerden. Von Heerden was fired as head of the Hurricane Center from LSU because he was complaining about the drilling in the Gulf before the explosion and before, and most important, before Katrina, saying, drilling in the Gulf is destroying the wetlands. And it's not just the oil slicks and the spill of oil, it's the drilling itself, destroying the wetlands. And it's been going on for years. Shell oil's knocked out about 9 million cubic yards of wetlands. The result is that New Orleans, people say, why did New Orleans drown? The answer was because the Gulf of Mexico came up to New Orleans. That's what happened. We lost the wetlands. Why are we drilling there anyway? Because BP wanted to be the deep water leader. Okay? They're drilling because they could do it, and they thought they could get away with it cheaply by cutting corners. So, there is a lot of sentiment that it's our fault, that we are somehow complicit because we drive cars. I don't buy that, because there is a safer way to drill for oil. I mean, obviously I'd like to get rid of it completely, but that doesn't mean that you have to crap all over the Gulf of Mexico to get oil. We didn't sign up for that. We didn't sign up for BP taking shortcuts. We didn't sign up for BP killing its workers.
Climate change, Greg, is it happening?
Climate change, well, yeah, I mean, we do have a change in the climate, which is obviously man-made. We're being destructive. I want to be very careful about something. I don't want to end up Al Goring everything in the environmental movement. I think that there's been far too much fixation with global warming. It's a serious issue, but it's not the only one. Bangladesh has been drowning. People have been drowning for years, and it had nothing to do with global warming. You see the drilling that's going on. You see massive dumping of toxic chemicals. I just was going after a company named Trafigura, which dumped toxins in the Ivory Coast and killed hundreds of people, as far as we know, or poisoned them. We don't know how many died. We know thousands were made sick. So there's many, many issues in the environment, not just global warming.
So what's a person to do, someone who has no access to power?
Well, first of all, we do have access to power. We vote, we make noise, we refuse to go to war, we resist, we join unions, we join organizations. So, I don't think we're powerless at all. I think so many progressives are very disappointed with Obama. I'm not. I didn't expect much, but we did elect a guy. That's saying quite a bit. It did make some changes, not all the changes that need to be made, but that was a true public uprising in which the small money actually beat the big money. That was amazing. So we've had uprisings, and take a look. Labor movement, the women's movement, the environmental movement, human rights movement. Bob La Follette's progressive movement is still here. That's why we're here today. We are not anything close to powerless. It's just that history swings back and forth. So if we hold our breath and swing out, I was talking today with Frank Rosen, one of the great union leaders of our time. And he was saying, things are looking bad. I said, Frank, you've been around long enough to know that it ain't the worst. I don't like Obama's war in Afghanistan, but I'll trade and I'll take Obama and Afghanistan over Nixon in Vietnam any day. Just do the body count. It's that simple. It's been worse.
It seems we're drilling in harder and harder places. Are we running out of oil?
No, we're running out of cheap oil. We're just making it, we have to look for it in more expensive places, and they have to look for it in places that are more destructive to dig out. in more dangerous places like deep water. So it's a matter of the difficulty is increasing, and that's the big issue. And so it's not a matter of resources being reduced. It's, in fact, what I fear is that they're not. I mean, it's too bad we're not running out of oil in some way, because we're not focusing on. We know that we can keep going on this train wreck, this environmental train wreck we're heading into. But it's not a matter of resources dwindling. It's a matter of them becoming more expensive and more brutal for them to get at the oil. Like Chevron, I was just looking at their destruction of the Amazon in Ecuador. I mean, if you look at my film Palast Investigates, you'll see me meet people, natives and local farmers with pustules all over their arms from the crap Chevron threw into the jungle. So that's where they're going. They've got to go into places where, and it's not that they can drill and that we have to have kids poisoned and sick. It's just more expensive to do it the right way. Far more.
Well, we talk about South America and Central America. It seems that those countries are really beginning to stand up to corporate America and corporatocracy in general. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I know Hugo Chavez, obviously. I remember when the left didn't know who he was, and I started doing reports saying this is the dissident against the New World Order. Now he's become a bit of a left celebrity and maybe going over the top. But the new guy that I respect very much is Rafael Correa, the president of Ecuador, whom I know, and I've talked with, and it's real hard. It's harder for him because, unlike Chavez, who has a lot of oil, he doesn't have very much oil. So it takes real guts. He's really faced down the IMF, the World Bank, the oil companies. Tough guy.
How did he do that?
Well, I mean, he just absolutely simply refused to go along with with the usual methods of the oil companies. For example, he kicked out Occidental, which is Al Gore's family's old oil company. Kicked out Oxy. He sued. He is now working with the plaintiffs suing Chevron to recover the damage. He's not deciding the case, but he says he's going to make sure that they pay it. When he's looking at the economic vultures, he's refused to pay certain bonds which are clearly bought by speculators manipulating the bond prices. I mean, he's a tough guy. And he has moved, just like Lula, he's moved the economic benefits of their resources down to the lower level. I mean, since Correa took over, the economy of Ecuador has been booming. There's been a little stall as the IMF and the oil companies have been on the attack. But I mean, you went from a country which is absolutely destitute to a booming economy under Correa by simply refusing to go along with the IMF rules and the so-called Washington Consensus. Obviously going up against corporate America, or like BP, for example, when the Iranians nationalized British Petroleum, the government was overthrown by the CIA. When Allende stood up for people in Latin America, he left feet first. They murdered him, and they murdered a lot of people with him. They kill you. These are not nice guys. So being a dissident is a formula for getting a bullet. It's no joke. And then plus they squeeze the countries. They threaten Ecuador when they refuse to pay the bonds. Well, we're going to cut you off. We're going to cut off all your financing. Well, Hugo Chavez basically underwrote the bonds of Ecuador so they could stay alive. So as long as the Latin leaders stay together and progressive leaders stay together, they have nothing to fear. And
do you think that's growing? Is that movement growing? Are they getting stronger, or are they falling apart?
Well, they're getting stronger because the right-wing free market model is making countries like the United States and Italy and Spain and England weaker. So that what are the economies that are booming? I mean, besides China, the big economy of our hemisphere is Brazil, and that's done basically kicking the Washington free market model in the butt.
How do they do it? I mean, I know you say they just do it, but I mean, what specific programs I read in some of your books that there's a 4 or 5 step program for the IMF and the World Trade Organization.
Yeah, I mean, it's right.
Companies. How do they get around that?
Well, the story is that you have it's really a 4-step process of impoverishing nations. I kind of culled this by working with Joe Stiglitz, who won the Nobel Prize, but he was at the World Bank.
Please talk about that.
And first they call for liberalization in trade, so they open their borders to foreign trade. That means that now capital doesn't compete, but workers compete against each other because the workforce is not flexible, but capital is. So first you smash the workers that way, then you privatize industries, or what Stiglitz called briberize, because it's all about bribes paid. These guys are thrilled, as Stiglitz said, to be told, oh, sell off the water company. You start thinking, $60 million in the Swiss bank account. In fact, Mobil Exxon gave about $160 million to the rulers of Kazakhstan, and they even admitted it. It's in their Swiss bank accounts. They said, well, we don't know why the company gave us this money, but it's a nice gift. So it's briberization, and in return they get the oil concessions. So then you get liberalization of the finance system. Well, that method was used on the United States, and look what happened. What happened to us is what happened to all these other countries. Brazil was destroyed that way, its banking system by being opened up. Ecuador imploded, and it had to be reversed by Correa and Ignacio de Lula of Brazil. Oh, I see a lot of movements in the U.S., a lot of changes. I mean, in Alaska, you've had a semi-socialist system of which, the benefits of the oil, for the most part, were seized by the state. In fact, when people were talking about Chavez breaking contracts and raising the price, raising the fee taken from the oil companies, increasing royalties, doubling royalties on the oil companies, well, at the same time, Alaska raised the royalties on the oil companies as well. But that was done, by Sarah Palin, so that was okay. So the socialist model actually has been very successful in Alaska, so we see it in America.
That's fascinating. The media in South America and Central America, is it more open than what we have? Is it more balanced, or?
No, it's not more balanced than what we have. But the difference is, you have, the people get the message anyway. That's the value of the internet, setting up your own independent stations, your own independent operations. No, some of the, Cisneros, who controls much of the media in Latin America, is very right-wing and was clearly involved in the attempted coup d'etat against Hugo Chavez. So the media is terrible in most of these places, but there usually is some type of progressive outlet that's created by progressives. I mean, Lula's Workers' Party had its own papers, so that's how they got the word out.
Please come back and watch complete interviews with each of the experts. And you can join me, Tom Hartman, anytime on the web at tomhartman.com.